Welcome to BigCountryPreps.com. I'm Evan Wren, and this is the Countdown to Two-A-Days series, our daily look at an area football team and the key questions we're going to be asking about that team in our August 17th preseason football preview at Big Country Preps. I'm here with my partner, Dan Youngblood, and tonight, Dan, we've got the Ballinger Bearcats.
Yeah, and then the Ballinger team will have a new coach for the first time in a while after Coach Chuck Lipsey retired last year. Ty Lang is taking over the program, former defensive coordinator and interim head coach at Decatur, also a former assistant at Brownwood. So this is a guy that has a little bit of experience in the Big Country area, and a guy who has had some head coaching experience now with that opportunity last year to take over the Decatur team. So it's going to be interesting. This Ballinger team doesn't return a whole lot of lettermen. Only 9 of the 22 varsity players they had last year are back, including 6 offensive and 5 defensive starters. So they're going to be relying on a lot of young players in a tough district. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how that goes for Ballinger this year. But I know that Coach Lang will be confident that his kids will play hard. It's just going to be a lot of young kids in positions they probably haven't been in before.
Yeah, well, when you say young, it is young. A lot of the key players in key positions are going to be juniors, maybe a sophomore here and there too. So that's going to be the challenge. And it's always difficult for a young group like that, learning a new system in a difficult district with a difficult schedule, to really take a big step forward. I think that it's going to be just kind of a wait and see, but they're up against a real challenge because the schedule that they're facing is it's loaded up both in terms of their district schedule and their non-district schedule. So we shall see, but a lot of juniors, a lot of sophomores, and they're not overly big either. That would be a concern. They're not the biggest guys on the block.
Yeah. And Ballinger, when you think about it, they've lost some kids to graduation last year that were some big time leaders for an extended period of time. You're talking about Nakia Villarreal, those types of guys. They've had a lot of those guys through the program the last 2 years that are gone now. So this will be, I think, a fairly major transition season for the Bearcats, particularly with a new coach and with a bunch of young players in those roles. But one thing that I think is a positive for them, this team has a good group coming up in the freshman and sophomore classes. So I think this is going to be a really good learning opportunity, regardless of what the record shows at the end of the season. You're going to have basically, I think, kind of almost kind of a lower pressure situation, just because in the district they're in with the number of lettermen they have, the expectations won't be exceedingly high, I don't think, for this team. And I think it's going to be an opportunity for these guys to really grow, kind of learn the ropes a little bit with a new coach. And I think this will be a year that will build towards something better. So it's going to be fun to watch in that regard. I think there's going to be a lot of growth this year for this Ballinger team.
Well, I think the district is top heavy. So I think the number 4 seed in that district is wide open. And Ballinger can get in the playoffs. They can see that 11th game, no doubt about it. But on that subject, let's go ahead and take a look at the Ballinger schedule for 2022. And it's not easy, Dan. In the non-district portion, they got a road date at Sonora to open things up on the 26th of August. Another road date against a very good Coleman team on September 2nd. They're going to be their home opener is going to be against Stanford on September the 9th. And let me tell you, the Stanford team's got everybody coming back. This is going to be a Stanford team that's going to be taking a step forward. That's going to be a challenge. Then a 3A D1 team from Clyde that is going to be an improved ball club from last year. That'll be on the 16th. And always tough Mason on the road on September 23rd. That is a challenging non-district portion. So these young kids are going to grow up fast.
Yeah, no question. And they follow that with their open date, and then open district with another really tough game, home against Early, and then go to Wall. So they're playing probably the 2 toughest teams in that district right off the bat. And then they host Brady, which should be very solid again this year as well. And then they do close out their season October 28th at San Angelo TLCA, and then November 4th with a home game against San Angelo Grape Creek. And to the point you made earlier, I think you're right. This schedule is very tough, particularly for a young team. But those last 2 games right there are very winnable. And if you win those 2 games, you're basically in the playoffs as a 4 seed. I think if you're Ballinger right now, that is 100% your goal, is to get into the playoffs. And that opportunity is right there for you in those last 2 games against TLCA and a Grape Creek program, both of which have struggled in recent years. So I think this is, like I said, I think it's an opportunity at a major kind of a step forward in terms of growth for this Ballinger program. And then you can even get that reward at the end with a playoff spot, which would be a big deal for a team that's kind of in a little bit of a rebuild mode.
Yes. Well, I wouldn't even eliminate the Brady game as a possible win. They've got Brady at home. And by the time they get to Brady, assuming they're going to be reasonably healthy at that point, It's going to be a battle tested team. So Brady's not going to bring anything to the table they haven't seen already at that point. That is a game that they could compete in and win, and then maybe even shoot for a 3 seed. That's possible.
Yeah, and that Brady game, that's a rivalry game too. So you look at the last couple of years, really last 3 years, where Ballinger, or 2 of the last 3 years anyway, where Ballinger's kind of been the favorite in that matchup, and Brady's given them all they wanted or won. And then this year, where Brady, I think, will be the favorite, but I agree with you. In that game, it's certainly not unwinnable by any stretch. And the fact that there's just that rivalry there, I think it adds a little something to it too. So
I think that's the game of the year for Ballinger, actually. I think that Brady game on October 21st, that's the one where they could reach maybe their highest potential. If they win that ball game and then hold serve on the last 2 games, they'll be a 3 seed, no worse than a 3 seed. So
I tend to agree, and I think this district schedule plays out really interestingly for them, in that you open it with 2 really strong teams in Early and Wall. Those are going to be really tough games regardless. And then you have that Brady game, which is, like we said, I think a good measuring stick game for this Ballinger team. And then you have those opportunities at the end with winnable games against the San Angelo schools. It's kind of interesting kind of how that plays out this year, just that it is a very front-loaded district schedule where things do get a little bit less strenuous as you go. And I think that could be if you can survive those Early and Wall games, I think there is an opportunity there.
And with that, it's just about time to wrap up tonight's episode of the Countdown to Two-A-Day series, the Ballinger Bearcats. But before we do that, we want to remind you that we've got 3 separate subscription packages here at BigCountryPreps.com. We've got a monthly for $5 a month. We've got a semi-annual 6-month subscription where we knock that price down to $4 a month. And then we've got an annual 12-month subscription where we knock that price down to $3 a month, $36 for a full year of Big Country High School athletic coverage.
And before we close out this episode of our Countdown series, we'd also like to remind you one more time to be on the lookout for that August 17th preseason football preview. We will just have a ton of area football coverage. You will not want to miss that. In the meantime, thank you for joining us for this episode of our Countdown to Two-A-Day series. And make sure you join us again tomorrow when we will be featuring the Brady Bulldogs here at BigCountryPreps.com.